Look, guys, most importantly, I want to say thank you for joining today. Really excited to have you here. So, BrandScript is something that I've been teaching and sharing now for nearly 2 years. And my previous role, I would talk about personal branding a lot. And so, in refining this, I've got a process which I'll share with you, which I deploy in my coaching practice. But I wanted to aim this specifically at job seekers today because I know there's so many of us that have been made redundant. I was made redundant about a year and a half ago. My role was made redundant. Becca's going to correct me on that. My role was made redundant. But, rather than seeking, I really want to help you guys turn into creating. And that's what this is all about. So you can see it's all lined up over here, waiting, waiting for the job, waiting for the opportunity. And then you see her on the right. And on the right is we want to be able to create. That's the point of this whole story. So let's dive in.
You are the early adopter of new tech, Crystal. So,
I am. So this is part of being a creator. You experiment, you try things on, and sometimes it works and
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't. So look, guys, if this was meant to be more of we're going to throw a lot of information at you rather than a interactive style of workshop. I'm available for any conversations after the fact, but in an hour to get through rather than the back and forth, this one was more of, I want to walk you through the process. I want to give you framework. I want to give you tools. And if you want to pick up with this afterwards with either myself or with Becca, we're absolutely here to do that. So with that in mind, we'll get cracking because there's quite a lot to cover. So moving forward here, BrandScript process. So this is the flow. We're going to go through a little bit of a brand audit on ourselves through reflection. We're going to look at our values. So in my one-on-one practice, I'll actually give you a personality assessment, which will help inform this. But right now, we're just going to use our own tools, our own mind and hearts to reflect. And then we're going to get you to what we call as the brand script, which is your mission statement. And then we're going to talk about how do we actually take some action and then amplify our personal brand. So first up, the steps we're going to take today, as I said, reflect and clarity. We're going to get clear on our values, the unique experiences and our strengths. We're going to set some goals. Why do we want to achieve this? What's important? We're going to create our mission. Our mission is who we are, what do we do uniquely and better than anyone else, and who it makes an impact on. And you want to be able to rattle it off really quick. We're going to talk about mindset. Grateful to have Becca here. Becca is the mindset coach. She's going to teach us, share story with us, and she's going to remind us to calm the farm and just take some action. And then we want to leverage all this clarity and our newfound mission. And then we want to get a little bit noisy, whether it's online, whether it's applying for jobs, or whether it's networking. So 60 minutes in and out. So what is personal branding? So personal branding is the story you choose to tell through your actions, your values, the way you show up every day. You may have never even thought about your personal brand, but you have one. So imagine when you see someone, in a crowd and you see them maybe offer their chair to someone, or you see them going out of their way to just maybe support that person. That person already has a brand to you. Chances are you're probably going to be a little bit nicer if you happen to bump into them. You're going to be like, oh, I saw you over there. Conversely, what if you saw that person not being nice? What if you saw that person not being courteous or respectful? They come up and they say, hey, I saw you at your talk. I thought you were great. And you're like, yeah, that's great. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's the feeling that you leave in the room. And so you want to be intentional about that. You want to be authentic about that. And so how do you do that? Well, you slow down and you have to think about it. It's at the heart of everything that you do. It's made of your experiences. It's how you brought up, your culture, it's your values that set you apart. And that's what's going to stand in people's memories. That's what's going to live in their mind. So really excited to walk you through this workshop today. And that's personally what I feel is the biggest gift out of this. I know that we're going to get tactical at the back end of this and go, okay, now how do I share all this? But when I think about what I love the most about this conversation, it's getting clear on the values and being able to be authentic. Just be yourself, just do you. And I'm sorry, my eyes are watering. They have a tendency to do this. So I'm not crying. I'm not crying yet, but it could happen. I don't know. There's like something physiological in me when I go to present, my eyes water. There's probably a story there. I don't know.
Tears of joy, Crystal, tears of
Yeah.
joy.
I really am having a great time. So your personal brand, it affects everything. They're already going to have a vibe about you. They're going to have a feeling about you, whether it's online or it's in person because they happen to see it, or even it's just through friends and colleagues. And so we better make that intentional. We better make that us, feel like us, be authentic to us, because that then gives us some confidence. And really, what is confidence? Confidence is that I trust myself to do what I want to do from that intentional perspective. I trust myself to do what I said I was going to do, to meet the commitments that I have. And when you're meeting your commitments in terms of values, that's when you really have some peace. And that's where it takes the ick out of all of this self promotion. This can position you as a thought leader and a role model. And that's where we move from seeking to creating. I want to take you guys from job seekers to job crafters, where you're creating your own market and you're now attracting the opportunities that are right for you, that are meant for you. And you're not having to go and chase them all down. You're just like a magnet. With that in mind, let's understand breaking down what a personal brand is. So, this is your combination of your core values, what you stand for. Values are going to come up a lot. And this is why sometimes it's easy. If anyone's ever done any, if you've ever done, a personality profile, a Hogan, I can actually, if anyone's interested, I can share with you a free values assessment. I use Crystal Knows in my practice, not my tech. I wish it was, but it's really great to kind of uncover what energizes you, what drains you, your core values, and it also goes into a bit of strengths. And then you have your experiences. And so these three things are the foundation of your personal brand. And that's why it's so important for you to take the time to really slow down and go, really, what are my values? And your values, sometimes if you have a hard time putting a label to it, and we're going to dive into that in the next one, which is maybe focus on how you want to feel. If you think about feelings a little bit, and then strengths, we'll dig into this. We're going to do a personal SWOT on ourselves, but think of, what do people come and approach me for? What do people tend to think that I'm good at? What's that look like? And unique experiences, is it the things that you've lived, how you gathered these strengths, where your values led you, what experiences you sought out. And this combination is going to be the building blocks of your personal brand and your mission statement. So I said reflection. This is where we're going to spend a lot of our time. In this section, I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes. And what I would really like to ask you guys, if you see these questions here, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, ask yourself, what am I known as the go-to person for? Maybe another thing, reframe could be, what's the question I get asked the most? What seems to come up a lot? For someone, it might be the way they work. Like, you seem super organized. I'm really interested to know what you do. Or it might be, I know that you've got a flair for numbers. So if I need to pull something apart complex, or it could be, maybe you're known as the go-to person for public speaking. What's that thing? Doesn't have to be one, could be multiple, but that's a good question to ask. And think about as well, what do you think that, if you're going to survey, if I were going to go ask, your colleagues, your family, or your friends, what's Pam like? What's Becca like? What do you think are the words they would use? I look over here because I can see Becca on my screen. I've got words for her. Do you think that the words that they use to describe you are similar to the feeling that you might leave with them? I mean, I've got a big smile on my face looking at Becca, so that's a hint, right? And so think about what are the words that you might use to describe yourself. And this is, think about when you introduce yourself. We're going to help you with that, with this mission statement here. But just let the pen go. Like, just let it flow without thinking about it. Just, this is the part where you just want to let it run. Even think about, what do you think is the feeling that I might be leaving in person in comparison to the feeling I'm leaving online? They might think that I'm awesome in person, but nobody else really knows except in my village, in my close cohort. Do you think I share that expansiveness and all those skills and attributes and strengths? Do I share them online where someone can see them? Is my personality visible in the impact that I have? So I said 5 minutes. I'm gonna hustle through. And it's values. Okay, I want to spend at least 5 minutes here. This is the part. It is everything. It is everything. Like, do not stop, do not move forward until you've had a real honest look. And this is just a smattering of values. This is just if you would imagine us in a workshop situation, I'd have a workbook where you could, cross out the ones that you don't align to. You could circle the ones that you like. You could write down the ones that if they're not there. This is where, if you are in alignment with the things that light you up, the things that you value, it doesn't feel like work. And you're living your authentic self because the things that you value most, they're being met. And then you're inspired. You're able to create that impact and you're resilient. Even when it's hard, you're like, you know what? I can do hard things. Like that was really awkward and that was uncomfortable, but I have a purpose as to why I'm doing it. And so, I could do it again. I can get knocked back 10 times and I could go again because this is 100% where I'm meant to be. And I'm 100% feeling what I want to be feeling. And therefore, you're going to attract and be with who's the right person for you, whether that's in work, whether that's in life, anything. You're going to become that magnet. So let's get clear on what are the things that I really value. And if it helps, think about the feelings that you want to experience, the feelings that you value most over the other. If it helps, cross out the ones or just ignore, delete, erase the ones that you don't like. Write them down on the page and strike it through. Sometimes it's easier to identify what we don't want than necessarily what we want. So back into it that way. Any other tips and tricks, Becca, on values?
Yeah, I would say values also can shift time and space. So, and environment as well. So it may be that you have different set of values for your workplace values compared to your home place values. So I would just throw that in there. And I'm keen to see what everybody's top value is. So I'm wondering if maybe everyone is able to access the Q&A or the chat. If you could just type in your top value.
We got strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities. Ignore the subtext. What we have here is a personal SWOT. So think of the things, go back to that question. What am I bankable at? What are the things that you point me at? I nail every single time. Give yourself examples of it. Think about it. What are the things so your top line here, your strengths and your weaknesses, those are that internal look. Where can I develop? What am I lacking? Where can I further develop? You've got your threats, bottom line. This is more your external. What are the things that are happening? Maybe this is the market. Maybe this is what's happening, my current industry. Maybe this is the style of role that I'm in. Maybe it's the threat of technology, but do a personal SWOT on yourself. Many of us would have done this on a product. We may have done it on a team, but how many of us in the chat, how many of us have actually done this for ourselves? We've done a personal SWOT for ourselves. That's generally the feedback that I get at this point is done heaps of these, just never for myself. When you think about your opportunities in the context of looking for opportunities, what are the things that you can see? What are the patterns that you're noticing in your frame of specialty that you can see that actually I could take advantage of that? One of the key things for us to adapt to all of this change is not that we have to be excellent at all the change that's happening or we have to, be in a position to grab it right away, but we need to be able to notice it. We need to be able to identify the pattern and then start to take steps to close those gaps. Nicola is in the call. I quote her constantly. If you're ripe, you're rotting. If you're green, you're growing, which is basically like constantly be learning, constantly be growing. And then as those threats come up or as those opportunities come up, you're already used to putting yourself outside your comfort zone and you can take action. Even if it's not perfect, you just take action. You start moving towards it. And those threats look a little bit scary and those opportunities look a lot more brighter. All right. So what we end up finding here is with our values and our strengths and our experiences, they start to come through in like a little bit of your ikigai, right? That was the idea with this slide was that you combine the things that I most value, which need to be met for you to be at your best. I combine them with the things I'm great at, I get paid at, I enjoy doing. And then my unique experiences, these are the things that set me apart. These are your secret sauce, your native genius, whatever you want to call it. These are the things that make you you. And when we get really clear on those and we're able to articulate them in such a way, then you're seen. And then you're pointed at the aim, which you are effective at, which you can make an impact at. And along the way, you're feeling great. You're amazing because this is exactly what you love. This is exactly what you're good at. And this is exactly where you make a difference. So, with this, do we need to go back to any of the SWOT or values? Are we comfortable moving forward? I don't see anyone else dropping in the chat. Because the next step is we take those things and we combine them into our mission statement. Our mission statement is who I am, what I do better and uniquely than anyone else, and who it makes an impact on. So for me, I'm Crystal Hell. I use my empathy and my communication and my people skills to help people uncover their personal brands and create an impact, get more visible. And that's what drives me. That's what I point my strengths and my experience at, and I really enjoy it. And who does it help? Well, at the moment, it helps professionals within the medical space, within MedTech or medical. But to be honest, I could do this for everybody. It doesn't you don't have to be MedTech. These are these values, this process, it's like water. I haven't invented it. This is, I mean, I've cultivated it, but they're not new. I just love helping people uncover that, to create the sense and the space to reflect and then start to help that person see themselves, see that feeling that they leave behind, and then put some language to it, put some words to it. That clarity, this mission statement will give you clarity to where you need to go write about yourself. Boom, this is my mission. I need to have an interview. This is my mission. I want to put some piece of thought leadership out there online. This will be your North Star. This gives you an aim. And that clarity is what makes a huge impact on the steps that you take next as you start to look for your next opportunity. Or if you don't find it, as you start to create it. You got to keep your energy. You got to be able to not act out of scarcity. And I think that is one of the hardest things when you're in this moment, you're searching for the next opportunity, is to potentially not honor your values, not honor your experiences, and just start to look for anything. And then you might get into a situation where you can survive, but you maybe aren't thriving. So this is the part where I'd love to hand over to you and have you share a story with us.
Okay, so I'm going to change things up a little bit
Let's do it.
for the interest of time. And I'm not going to tell my story because I think what's probably more relevant for everybody rather than my story of redundancy of role is some of the things that I've learned from that experience and some of the things that I help my clients with in terms of mindset. So I've got a few tips and thoughts along the way to sort of sprinkle amongst it for all of you in the hope that it gives you an opportunity to maybe think of things a little bit differently. So the first thing, and Crystal has touched on it, is language is so important. So the part of my story that I will share is that when I had a redundancy recently, one of the things I was very quick to do was change the language, because what I hear always is I was made redundant.
We all do that. Oh
Yeah,
gosh,
it
we
is
all do
like
it.
everybody does it, right? So the first thing I changed for myself was I wasn't made redundant. My role was made redundant. And I will tell you that that psychologically put me in such a different space. It made me feel way more empowered. It didn't diminish me as a person or my value of what I bring to an organization. And I think, in this day and age, redundancies in our industry, particularly in MedTech, they've become a lot more common. So it's not personal. And I think using that language, in fact, I know using that language both for myself, and I can see it when my clients use that language, it just shifts the sense of this was a personal thing to me. It makes it more like this was a business decision, rightly or wrongly, but it's somebody else's decision. And you can't always control what's happening from other people, but you can control yourself. So it's kind of taking back your power in that
Mm.
moment to be able to say that. So that was kind of the first thing I would offer to you all today, is just a slight reframe on the language and
Yeah.
correct
Words are
people.
powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct people. So when people are talking to you, if they say to you, I see you were made redundant. You can just nicely say to them, oh, actually, my role was made redundant. I still have a lot of transferable skills to offer and strong value to bring to an organization. So, just in a gentle way. But it also just tells somebody that you're not sitting in the negative emotions. It's kind of like
Mm.
rising above all of that. So that would
Mhm.
be tip number one from me, is that language is important. I also touched on another one here, which is about you can't control how other people show up in the world. You can only control yourself. So, this is a chance for you to show up as the best version of yourself and not let that be defined by the actions of an organization that was probably not making this personal, the reason why you find yourself maybe outside of a job or going from there. So, just I think
Mm.
I often coach my clients to say, be the best version of yourself. And that means being accountable to that and then just let the rest go. It's a story that doesn't serve you.
Mm.
So, Crystal asked me to bring a quote today that resonates for me. And the quote that I would share with you is one that I share. I seem to be sharing this a lot lately, because it's a thing out there. And so and I don't know who to attribute this to, which kills me because I'm using it all the time. But here we go. Without altering the facts of the situation and without ignoring the reality of what must be done, what is the most useful and empowering story I can tell myself about what is happening and what I need to do next? And what I find is almost in every circumstance, you can leave all the external factors as they are. You know, if you are currently unemployed, we're not going to change that in the next 2 seconds. But what's almost equally or more important about that situation is what you're saying to yourself about it. What's the story you're telling yourself about your situation of unemployment? So you can be telling yourself an empowering story, or you can be telling yourself a diminishing story. The only one it's going to affect is you. And it doesn't have to change the externals. This is about you. It's how you show up for yourself in the world. So I find that quote has been super helpful for me. I often do like a check myself moment referring back to this. And I've found that clients that I've shared it with also find it to be super helpful. So maybe it can be of service to you also. The other thing I was going to say here is I think there can be a tendency in these situations to feel that we need to people please to try and secure the job, but it's really important that you be yourself. Nobody else can
Mm.
be you. And I think that ties in really well with what Crystal's sharing with you today about personal branding. You are the only you out there. So trust that. Trust that you're bringing value into the workplace. Lean into that because employers like that. They like to sort of get that sense of a person. Like, ooh,
Mhm.
they meet Crystal, for example, and they go, Crystal is the only Crystal out there doing it the Crystal way. And at the end of the day, that's where you're going to find your sweet spot in an organization too, because it's like dating, right? Like you both have to buy into that you're a good match. And so
Mhm.
if you
Mhm.
are being the best version of you and showing up as yourself, and it's not resonating for an organization, I would invite you to trust that and be okay that maybe that's not a fit for you because somewhere will be. There will
Mhm.
be somewhere where what you are putting on the table is going to be their best thing since sliced bread that they just can't do without. And that will ultimately be a place where you're very happy to be working and you'll feel valued. And I think that's also an important piece of in these sort of situations where we're between jobs is to land in a next job that is a maybe not perfect job. Is there a perfect job? But a more right for you at this time job.
Yeah.
And I would also just in line with that offer you that the next job doesn't have to be your permanent job. So there's a real opportunity for you in this moment to explore, to play, to have a think about what might I do and just think of it as the next 2 years. Because you have a nice natural narrative for prospective employers if you've had a role redundancy to say, look, I had a role redundancy and I took the opportunity to add a string to my bow in terms of skill set. So I went and I did XYZ for 6 months or a year. to learn that skill or have that experience
Mm.
to explore a different side of myself. And then, so it's less like, oh, you took a backward step, and it's more like you embraced your growth and learning. So I would just really encourage you to be thinking about what are some of the things that you've wanted to work on for yourself, that maybe exploring a job that's like not quite what you thought your career path would look like and what that might bring to you, and that it does not, whatever the next thing is, doesn't have to be permanent. So in your mind also, that kind of unlocks a little bit sometimes the how you're feeling about interviewing, what jobs you might be looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that the what where you started with the what you're focusing on is huge. We will experience the life that we focus on. What is wrong is available to you. What is not right is there for you if that's what you want. But let's reframe that. What is right? Where can I focus on? Where can I deploy my gratitude for what I have, but know where I want to go? That is your circle of control. And that's what I was hearing from Becca when she was sharing that, is that there's a whole lot of stuff out here in terms of, sort of the restructure, how people are acting, what's going on in the organization that is so far outside of your control. You're wasting your energy and your effort even trying to contain that. You can't. So then we go into what's the story that I'm telling myself? Is it serving you? If it's all negative, is that real? Is that based on real data or corrupt data? Or is that legitimate? You know what I mean? So second guess, second, questioning yourself in that sense if you find you're in the negative. Because the meaning and the emotions that we have is where we're going to attach the meaning. And so for us to be able to create, for us to go from job seekers to creating our own market, we need to be seeing that potential. If we
Mhm.
just look at it as everything that I'm lacking right now, everything I don't have, we won't be able to create. So we want to move into that reframe. And if that's, to Becca's point, if that story is not serving you, then create. Create the new story that you want. How do you create the new story? Be yourself. How do you know who yourself is? Spend the time to reflect and go through processes like this, which get you closer and clearer to when you are your best version of yourself.
Mhm.
What am I doing? Who am I with? What type of work am I doing? Am I making an impact? These are all the questions that we really encourage you to ask yourself, because once you do that and once you start showing up, to Becca's point again, it will be play. It'll be play because it's fun. And
And
how nice for us to get back to play as, like, adults.
I think, I was just going to say, I think one of the most powerful reframes you can do for yourself is to ask, what if everything is happening for me? So
Yeah,
it's a real shift on things happening to you in life. And this is for whatever life circumstance you find.
absolutely. Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Becca. I'm sorry to rush us through, but we do need a little energy break here. I think that's a great point in time for us to just shake it off. Let's just shake off any of those old stories, any of that, like, I'm seeking, I'm chasing. Let's just shake all this off because we want to be moving into creating. We want to be moving into attracting. And this is real. It's a good point in time to just, if you're sitting down, stand up, shake it off. If anyone was here early, I was bebopping to music because that changes our state. If we're ever feeling a little bit like, I just can't shake this negative story, I just can't shake the fact that I might be focusing on this thing that's outside of my control. Regulation is physical. Move your body, have a dance, go for a walk, go for a run, pick your poison, whatever it is, move, and you will change your state. And that's your sign that we can then come back and get to it. So, yeah, what was it? I recently did the Tony Robbins thing. He cracks me up, the clapping and everything. It's the first time I did one, but he'd be like, "Make you move, make you move." you know, Nicola, if you're listening to this, you'll be cracking up. All right, so we made a move. We've shaken it off. So now we know who we are. We know what we're awesome at. We know who it makes an impact on, aka our mission statement. So now we can be a thought leader. Everyone is a leader. You don't have to have a leadership title. You are all leaders. You all cast a shadow. And now we can do it as authentically as us without the ick. The ick is like, I'm trying to be someone else. I'm trying to be like them rather than I'm being me. Just do you, boo. Okay? So what are you good at? Share it. Where are you struggling? The messy middle. Share it. People are tired of these sanitized, corporate, like perfectly put together, even our AI posts. Like, we don't want to see it all perfect. You know, when you see a spelling or a typing error, how nice is it where you're like, oh my gosh, that's a person. That's a real human wrote that. So like share the messy middle, welcome the perspective, invite people to comment with you, you know, invite people to jump in if you're having a conversation in a group networking perspective. If you ever feel like you're getting a little bit off center, your North Star is your values and your mission. If you ever feel like you've hopped off the reservation, well, look, congratulations, you're human. You're experimenting, you're trying things on. That's what it's all about. But when you need to come home, when you need to recenter yourself, your values, that's your North Star. That's your mission. That's what you're here to do. That's who you're making an impact on. So find yourself there, recalibrate, and then lift off again. All right, tools to help. So I am going to get into LinkedIn, but first I actually wanted to let you know there is a multitude of tools out there to help you. So we talked about AI. Leverage these. If you want to even have a workshop, you can feed into these AI models and have this conversation with them. You can even say, you know, like, what are you noticing? What am I great at? What are the things I come to you where I've got all these ideas on? You know, that's going to help you start to realize here's a pattern. It will help you identify the patterns. And then you'll get sharper at identifying them for yourself. Using LinkedIn, we're going to talk about Canva. Canva's amazing at creating some amazing designs for your LinkedIn banners. I do caution you on the CVs though, because if you go into a graphic CV, it might not do your SEO search depending on what sort of model that they're using, what sort of tech stack that they're using. So be cautious on that front and getting too fancy. Substack, it's a great place if you want to start sharing your thoughts and doing a blog. You can do the same thing at LinkedIn. You can share articles, same thing. Video tools. Look, I put in Vidyard there as well, because if you do want to get into a bit of video, Vidyard's great. You can share the screen just like we're doing here with Riverside. You can record something that you're working on. Mentoring platforms, Mentor Walks, Growth Mentor, like getting a part of a community that already has this sharing is caring mindset. Sharing your thoughts. For anyone in MedTech as well, I was going to highlight the accelerators. So if you want to go into like Cicada or MedTech Accelerator, those are great where someone who's quite senior can actually start to share their knowledge, their experience, making an impact in someone who's in the startup phase. And then, of course, you're just around people doing cool things. You'll find opportunities and you'll see it grow from there. Writing and editing tools, there's just so much. I couldn't detail them all. The best way that I want you to look at this here is anyone familiar with the Eisenhower matrix where you've got your, you know, your grid, your vertical and lateral axes, right? The top left-hand quadrant is the stuff that only you can do. This is the magic that you need to save for yourself. No one else can do it. You need to do it. But that bottom left-hand quadrant is where it would historically guided you to like, can you delegate this? I like to ask myself, is there tech there? As a solo entrepreneur right now, is there tech there that I can use? Who can help me? What could help me? So that's where I mean, rather than it being this tool or that tool, that's where I would suggest that you take this is look at what you need to be getting done and then look at that bottom left-hand quadrant and go, how can I delegate this? And then you can ask yourself, who can help me or what tool can help me? Now, for anyone on the tools, I actually use Sintra AI. So if anyone is interested, I do have 1 month free that I'm happy to offer anyone. And I'll be doing more on Sintra later. I'm going to be doing a little workshop there as well. Okay. So how there's seeking here where we're like, let's update our headline. We're thinking about LinkedIn here. I want to take my job title. I want to put my mission statement in there. That's great. I want to update my about section. Tell your story, who you are, what drives you, who do you help. These are just hygiene things on the left-hand side. Must do. Update your roles and your impact. If you can, use numbers, showcase your strengths. Don't give any away trade secrets, but you can give perspective. You can go percentages from here to here. To Becca's point, add relevant, up-to-date skills. Maybe you're learning a new skill. Highlight that you're learning a new skill. That's a great opportunity to show your network that you're still growing. Network, go back into the roles and the companies that you used to work with. Are you connected with all of them? Are they aware where you're at and what you're doing and that you're on the market again? Do you know that 80%, so internally, if you'd measure this, they would say, oh, maybe like 40% of it goes through referrals, but it's actually closer to 80% of jobs are filled through networks. So make a list, run your networking like you would run a sales pipeline. Who you talk to, what did you discuss? When's the next follow up? Who do you want to talk to? Map your market. Who are the companies that you admire that you would be interested in working for? Don't just be throwing CVs in there. Actually start to network with them, start to engage with those employees of that company, those leaders within that company, and comment. What are you liking? Maybe you'll actually find maybe that's not the right match for me. I've been following them and they're not the right match for me. That's fine too. But engage, share, comment, join groups, get visible. Now, when we switch to creating, we don't want volume for volume's sake. You want to be deliberate. You want to go back to who you are, what do you do better than anyone else, who it makes an impact on, your North Star. And that's the stuff that you want to be talking about. Relevance trumps volume. If you're going to post something, this is a bit of LinkedIn algorithm, early engagement matters. So a little trick that you can do is you might post something and then you might add a section in the comments. We're just now hacking that a little bit. But really, that then invites, maybe you want to, share something with, like if I post something and I think, Becca's going to find it interesting, I'll mention it to her. Hey, did you see that? And then we'll kick off in a conversation. And look, native content is prioritized. Too many links, it's going to be ranked down as spammy. So you don't want to be spamming, but we already just talked about this. Relevant trumps volume. And influence. Position yourself as a thought leader. Like share things that you would be interested in reading, not just for the sake of it, not just because you need to do a post. All right. Yeah. Yeah. And you're great at this. Becca will actually say, look, I saw that. And I want to respond, but I actually want to be responsive thoughtfully. So I haven't forgot it, but I'm going to take a minute and then I'm going to write something because I want it to be thoughtful. And you're really good at that. So that is the difference between chasing to creating. So we can take a page out of Beck's book there. Do you. So we're going to recap in next steps. First of all, you got to do you. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken. And then know your why, know your aim to your goal. Right now, it could be securing a job. You want traditional employment, and that's what your aim is. And then once you secure that, you might evolve what you've learned here today into a different aim. Maybe it's to create another income pathway. Maybe it's to pursue an interest or a passion. This is me. This is my mission. And what we need to do now is stay calm and keep doing the work. Stay calm and carry on. How do you do that? Action. Take immediate action. So what I'd like everybody to do from here today is I would love for you guys to email me something that you took action on. It could be as simple as, hey, check out my LinkedIn. I've just updated it to, hey, what do you think about my mission statement? Or, hey, do you want me to, I'd love to take that values assessment, whatever it is. By the end of the day, tell me what you did to take action. That is what's going to help you keep your focus on exactly where you need to be heading. So look, guys, it is a lot. We shared. For anyone who's comfortable to stay on for a few more minutes, happy to go through any other questions that anyone has. I'd love to hear if there was any particular moment, insight, or anything that was shared that made an impact on you, or if it's just any questions. So we'll hold space for an extra 5-10 minutes just to kind of do a bit of Q&A. LinkedIn algorithms. Look, LinkedIn algorithms are an interesting one. As I said, the engagement factor, commenting, and not just likes, and even the type of like that you do. I'm prone to a heart. I gotta diversify that. I gotta give them the support. The other thing is if you have a company page, so if you are looking at starting your own business, sharing anything from your company page is kind of a waste of time. You want to share it from your personal page. That gets prioritized more. Um, Pam, I can see here about tools. So my favorite tool at the moment is Sintra AI, but I'm learning more that you can probably do a lot of the same things with Chat GPT. It's just probably how you train them. And I think there's so many tools out there. Like I'll use Sintra AI for like daily flow and almost sort of my knowledge base. But then if I'm gonna go do some writing and I need some help with that, I find Grok is quite cool for that. It's got a bit of a different perspective. And I think is it Gemini who does a lot more of the image creation? Like my Sintra AI agents, they'll do image creation, but it takes a few goes. And I'm just thinking if there's, like I think if you want to be doing any video stuff, I said Vidyard, that was a good one. Or even Riverside FM. Like it's pretty reasonable to use this and record. Gemini is a Google version. Yes. Yes. Gemini is Google and Grok is X. I hope that something that we shared today made an impact. If you have any questions and you would like to have a follow up conversation, please reach out to myself or Becca on LinkedIn. We're here to help you. We fully are of the school that it takes a village and no one does this alone. And we're really grateful for all the help that's been given to us along the way when we really needed it. And we're grateful to be able to do this and give that gift to you guys right now. So you've got two more people in your village. And please go forward and rather than seeking, create. And I'm very confident that you guys will all end up exactly where you're meant to be with exactly who you're meant to be with. That's it. All right, guys, I'm going to shut it down. Have an awesome day and go Patriots.